Paula Show is on. The Paula Show. Come on, one and all. I extend an invitation to the Paula Show. Join in the conversation. Transforming behavior, recognizing our Savior, overcoming hurdles, achieving dreams. Together we can succeed.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Paula Show. Tonight, my guest is Mr. Fitzmorgan Greenaway, and we'll be speaking about the value of agriculture to the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. Very often, when we speak of agriculture and tourism, we think that one has to supersede the other. But how about tourism complementing agriculture and agriculture complementing tourism? They're both essential to our economy. So thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. Thank you for watching the Paula Show. Remember to watch the Paula Show via CTV Channel 2 on Tuesday nights at 9, and Sundays there's a rebroadcast at 1 in the afternoon. The Paula Show inspires, entertains, and transforms behavior. Like me on Facebook, The Paula Show. Tonight my guest is Mr. Fitzmorgan Greenaway, and incidentally, we're both from Freeman's Village.
Amen.
Amen. He says amen to that. When we were growing up in Freeman's Village, did you have an interest in farming?
Yes, from my grandmother and from my mother.
Oh.
Both were farmers in their own rights. They worked in the home. My mother was a seamstress,
Right.
but she also did farming.
Oh.
She was doing farming on her own and doing her own business.
So she was an entrepreneur?
She was an entrepreneur, and from the age of 5, when I was about 5, she had stopped working for Mill Reef and started her own business in making dresses and doing her farming.
And still farming. So if anyone should ask, from what age did you have an interest in farming?
Well,
It's from childhood. The
From
answer would be
childhood.
from childhood,
From
because of
childhood.
the influence
Of-
of your grandmother
and my
your
mother.
mother. And you said that you're a crop farmer?
I'm both.
You're-
I'm both a crop farmer and a livestock farmer. I do all types of farming,
So
Both
crop
types.
is about
vegetable production,
vegetables and maybe fruits.
fruits and vegetables.
Okay. And the livestock,
Is about
Animals.
animals.
it's amazing. I was researching what's livestock. And livestock includes donkeys as well, you know. But then livestock doesn't include dogs and cats and
Those
those
are
types
considered
of
as
animals.
pets.
Right, they consider them domesticated animals, but livestock, I suppose, is the animals that roam in the pasture.
To look at the word livestock, we come into contact with Wall Street, and we hear they talk about stocks and bonds.
Yes.
Stock, livestock, it's indicating it's a live
It's a living stock.
So it increases in value. It doesn't stay at the same value. It has the potential
Yes.
to grow
To grow.
or to give another. So it multiplies. So there you can think about, when you say livestock, you're talking about something that is increasing in value.
In value. Okay.
It doesn't stay.
Interesting. So we're talking about agriculture and farming in Antigua and Barbuda, and we've gone all the way to Wall Street. Interesting conversation. Would you say that as a livestock farmer and a crop farmer, different skills are required for the two categories?
Certainly, I would agree with that. I'll also say to you too that in the crop production, there are different skill sets that are needed for the different types of crops too. What works for this crop doesn't necessarily work for the other crop.
So let's say I'm growing sweet potatoes
Okay.
and lettuce.
Yes, okay.
I just water them and they need some sunlight, and I might poke a fork around them or something. I mean, what's required?
Well, the sweet potato is a tuber.
Yes, it grows beneath
grows
the earth.
beneath the earth. Whereas the lettuce
It's
is a
above
leafy
yeah,
and above
leafy green.
leafy green, it's above the earth. The lifespan of the lettuce is just about 28 days.
Oh,
Yeah, just about a month. But the lifespan of the sweet potato from the start of production to harvest can be as much as 6 months
6 months
Yes, so
in the earth.
in the earth. So the technique to deal with both would be certainly different.
Because lettuce would be more fragile.
Fragile, free.
Listen, and a farmer has to know
That
all.
about that in order to
This sounds like a thesis.
ah,
That is why maybe I'm a little bit fearful to start in the backyard gardening.
don't be afraid.
Because
Don't be afraid,
it
Paula.
seems as if it's going to require a lot of work, and I just want produce that I can water and leave it. So maybe I would be a good sweet potato farmer,
Let me say this
as
to you.
opposed to lettuce and thyme and tomatoes and all those fragile produce.
There's always been a myth, and I think that we need to allay that
Let me
fear
hear this.
that farming is too much work. I'm not going to say it's not hard work.
Remember,
people
I
say
grew up in Freeman
too much
Village,
work.
and my grandfather had a farm, and I had to go to that farm, and I remember sometimes picking worms from the okra trees and all of that. That was hard work, and it was child labor.
Today, Paula, the technology has changed,
Okay.
and farming has become more mechanical
As
than
opposed
manual.
to manual.
All right. So there are so many different techniques
Okay.
that an individual can apply to any type of farming, be it crops or
Okay, we're
livestock.
going to speak about those techniques a little later, but
Okay.
I want to stay with the conversation point, because I want to find out from you. Yes, you started farming. It's your natural skill. But along the way, did you receive formal training to enhance these skills, or you're just dependent on your natural skills?
I would have received formal training. Farm management, reproductive physiology, that's the reproduction in small ruminants, goats from the University of Mexico. I would have received formal training in management at Mona. I would have,
Jamaica,
yes, and I've received training in at St. Augustine.
Trinidad.
And I would have received training also in Feldafing in Germany.
You have been around.
Yes. I think it's important that one equips oneself with the knowledge that is needful for whatever enterprise he or she is
Enter.
desirous of.
And have you received, well, I mean, after you've received these international exposure in training, local training probably doesn't even matter at this point.
Well, information is important.
Yes.
And one of the great thing about life is knowing how to access it.
Yeah.
To the know we have the internet and we have all these electronical means and so on. So there's information out there. But before that, I needed to have people in my life that I could call on the telephone,
Yes.
whether it be in Germany or in Barbados,
Yeah.
to say, well, look, I'm having this problem. What do you recommend?
So a network is
and I-
important.
yes.
A global network
Yes.
is important.
And it helps.
Because you don't want to limit it to just a local network. Wow.
And I would have had formal training here too, in
Yes.
Antigua.
And then you expanded.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the Paula Show. Tonight we're speaking with crop farmer and livestock farmer, Mr. Fitzmorgan Greenaway. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Stay with us, please. I have been doing my research, and it's amazing, this English language. A heifer, I found out, is not a cow. And a cow is not a heifer. There are different stages when the names apply.
It makes practical sense to be able to differentiate the animal, whether by gender or by age.
Okay.
The the cattle is still a cattle. So cattle is the general term.
Cattle, general term.
The general
Yes.
term. All of these are, in the scientific way, they call it bovine.
Right, B-O-V-I-N-E.
So it's
right.
in the bovine, you have the buffalo and all that. But
Yes.
the cattle is in that bovine family.
Yes.
Now, the cattle has a calf. And if that calf is a female, then that calf is called a heifer because of its gender.
Okay.
But if it's a bull, it is called a bull from the moment it's born.
So
If it's a male,
it's a male is a bull from birth
bull calf.
to death.
So it's a bull calf.
Bull calf. And
And
then
then
as
it's a
it
heifer.
grows older, you
It's
just
still-
call it a bull.
Bull.
Okay.
It's a bull.
Yeah.
Um,
The female.
The female now would be the heifer if she's young from the moment she's born. And she would not become a cow until she would have given birth to a calf,
Yes.
which can be some 24 months after birth.
So soon?
Yes, so soon. And it can give you as much as 10, 12 calves throughout his lifetime. All depends on what the farmer is looking for.
Are large parcels of land required to become a successful farmer? Speaking a little bit now about crop farming.
Let me say this. Land has always been an issue in the Antiguan context.
Really?
Because yes, we have limited space. It's 108 square miles.
Okay, and we have to do the housing,
Everything.
the hotels,
Yes.
and recreational.
So I'm saying we have to be objective in our thinking
Yes.
and be practical in our decision making. Now, seeing as we have a small area, we're talking 108 square miles, there are some ranches in Texas that is 10 times the size of Antigua.
That's true.
A ranch.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
have ranches in those areas that you can be riding on a horse for 5 days and still would have reached the
Australia.
end.
Yes, in Australia.
So
yes.
in Antigua, it's different. So I want to be
You
very
ride around
Yeah.
in an hour or two.
exactly 20 minutes and you get to the next point. As the saying goes to,
Yes.
if you plant a pumpkin in Antigua,
Yes.
in a little while you run into the sea. Because it's so small.
Yes, yes,
So,
indeed.
on a serious note, though,
Yes.
I think that we have to do what we call proper land management to aid all aspects of our economic development.
Yes.
We want to aid the tourism. We want tourists to
Yes.
come. We don't have a problem with that.
Yes.
We want to allow people to build homes. We don't have a problem with that. We want plain areas.
Yeah.
We want roads. We want other infrastructures to be put in, utilities and all the other. So you need land or space to put them on.
But at least leave some for agriculture.
Yes. So I'm saying we have made some errors over the years. And I'm saying over the decades.
Yes.
We have not looked at our lands and see how best to use it.
Yes.
And tonight I want to say we should talk about proportionate blame. All our leaders, all our farmers, all our homeowners, businessmen, supermarketeers, hoteliers, all of us need to accept some of the blame as to why we have some of these issues with lands. Because we need to be able to feed ourselves, and we're going to need land
In order to,
to
grow the
to
crop
grow the crops or
and
to
to care
feed
for the
lives.
livestock. Yes.
No, so I'm saying some of the things that could be done, because I'm a person with solutions. Some of the things that could be done, we need to be able to utilize every inch of our land. At the sides of our roads, there's a lot of good material that grows there that can be used for animal feed.
Grass?
Yes. And we cut it up and we throw it to the cook's dump. We clean the sides of our roads and we throw all of that material to the cook's dump. I'm made to understand that it's $1.3 million to clean the road of Antigua and Barbuda every month.
So if you sell some of that grass as hay to the farmers,
But it needs to be managed.
yes.
How it is now, it is in a state of chaos. You'd have to manage it properly so that machinery can come
Yeah.
and harvest it quite easily and move on. You'd have to plan your
You'll have to fertilize it.
and all of that.
Yes.
take out the stumps
Yes.
and all that. You have to be catering for
That's
the
a lot of work.
No, not a lot of work. If you work,
lot of
if
effort
you
too.
work smarter, you don't
Work
have to work.
smarter,
you
not
don't have to work
harder.
harder. So you can work smarter by using
Yeah.
machinery rather than manpower, and that's what we've been saying before.
Mechanical versus manual.
Manual. So
Yes.
if we use more machinery, we'll do more.
In less time.
Accomplish more in less time. So I'm saying we can utilize all those lands. There are things, the things that we can do. We can plant trees at the side of the road. When I say trees, I'm talking about trees like
Peas.
chicantera, mulberry. All these are high protein
For the livestock.
shrubbery. So if the car runs off the road, it wouldn't run into a tree. It would run into some shrubbery.
Okay, and less damage to the vehicle.
Less damage to
and
the
its
vehicle.
occupants.
Yeah, exactly. But it would also look very pretty.
I like where this conversation is going. And one head of cattle requires 1.5 acres of land in Antigua. But in Guyana, the same one head of cattle requires 15 acres.
In Guyana, where I would have come into some studies, I did some studies too at Monrepo in reproductive
You've
physiology.
been all over. Good for you.
We would have gone out to the Ituni Savannah. So they have lots of land, acres and acres of land. But the Ituni Savannah is sandy.
Oh.
It's a sandy soil. So it does not give rise to
The moisture.
shrubbery and grasses like guinea grass and so on.
Because the moisture
it's a very
doesn't stay
thin
in the
grass.
sand.
So, yes, exactly. There's not adequate moisture
Sure, right.
to promote
I
the
did a
growth.
little geography.
To promote the growth.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? The land drains fast,
Yes.
so there's no moisture. So what happens now? One cattle needs 15 acres, but they have a lot of acres, so they have acres can't done, so it doesn't bother to them. Now, in that research, we were able to compare the land in Guyana to the land in Antigua.
So what's the difference in Antigua?
Antigua is clay. So we have three main
The
limestone,
moisture.
volcanic,
Limestone
limestone, and
and
clay.
clay.
The clay is in the center of the island. And the clay retains its water.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
therefore, we end up with a lot of good growth.
And
because-
nutritious as well.
Exactly. So the grass in Antigua comes in a very prolific way because the moisture is constant, especially during the rainy season.
Yes.
We see the amount of grass that we go. So in the Antiguan setting,
You
with
need
the
less land.
existing grass that we have Antigua hay grass, we have Pangola, we have Guinea grass. Those are some of our regular grasses. And those grasses can have a good regrowth after one shower in 30 days. So that grass only could really maintain and hold one cattle, 1.5 acre. But we would have done some developments too by improving those pastures, by putting in legumes.
That's,
That's
like
not
peas.
yeah,
Okay.
peas. So we plant leguminous.
Cattle eat peas?
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. And that's a high source of protein.
Protein,
It
yes.
is comparable to the alfalfa grass in the US. So if we are to give our animals these legumes, so we plant them, there's the winer in the field, right? There's the sriracha, the teramnus, the Lucinia, the winer, the wild tamarind. All those are legumes that you can put in along with your grass. And that same land, 1.5 acre, that can now sustain 5 animals, can now sustain 12
Wow.
by just doing those
So
improvements.
it's not necessarily the space. It's how you use the space.
Exactly, exactly.
So again, you return to land management.
Exactly. Utilize it to its fullest.
We can therefore increase livestock farming in Antigua and Barbuda.
Exactly.
20 years ago, you said we had more cattle than humans, and now we have less than 5,000 heads of cattle.
That bit of information is correct. When the amblyoma tick program was being done here in Antigua, the US was very concerned about the sinking ticks reaching the mainland
Yeah.
to affect their cattle production.
Interesting.
So they gave assistance via FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization,
Right.
to give Betical, which is a chemical that can be thrown on the cattle and keep the tick
Okay.
away from the cattle. The Ministry of Agriculture collected the data, and at that time, it was more cattle than humans. We had more than 70,000 heads of cattle
In Antigua.
Yes, at that point in time.
Right.
We had much
When
more
you say
sheep
in Antigua and Barbuda,
in
or just
Antigua, in Antigua
in
alone,
Antigua
and the
alone.
mainland alone.
Okay.
right? We had a
More
lot more
sheep than
sheep
people?
than cattle and a lot more sheep than people. We had more goats than people,
Wow.
right? So we were able to get the data by giving out the information, the Betical, and collecting the data from the various farmers.
So what happened over the years?
95, let's say after Louis and so on, our cattle population started going down. The management and a lot of the lands were now being distributed for housing.
Okay.
So the people who had paddocks, the government would repossess those lands
Yeah.
and do them for housing, and therefore the cattle would be all over the road. There'd be accidents, the insurance company was involved, even helping the government to finance the building of a pound at Painters to assist.
I
'cause
see that. When I was growing up, my grandfather had cattle, and sometimes they would be impounded at Diamonds, and we would have to travel from Freeman's Village walking to Diamonds, pay a fee, and then the cattle would be returned to us. So you're saying, no, that is not done at Diamonds anymore, it's done at Painters.
It's not even done at Painters anymore.
So animals are not impounded anymore?
No. Years ago, we used to have pounds all over. As I said, those reasons, those factors
Yes.
are not limited to one or two, but there are a number of factors. The housing was one,
Yes.
the paddocks were torn down,
Maybe less
the
ponds, no?
owners just left them, right? Then you had prairie last, they started to pick up. So all these factors, everybody started now to just kill the cattle
For meat?
for meat.
Slaughter?
Yeah, slaughter them now.
Because
for
it's too
human
much
consumption.
responsibility.
Yes.
Ah.
And then, not only that, there was also the negative education that cattle give too much trouble and cattle this, and all the negatives were highlighted about the cattle.
So people just wanted
People just started to
release
sell them, get rid of them. So now it's, what we call it, it's economics 101. So now that it becomes scarce, the price of the meat,
Ah.
right?
Supply decreases.
Supply, demand.
And demand increases, so it
Yeah.
affects the price.
Exactly.
But a lot of young people are not excited about supply, demand, agriculture, livestock, crop farming.
I'll say to you, Paula,
Yes,
I have cattle today,
yes.
and people would pass by and say, oh, they look lovely. All of my cattle, I can feed them from my hand. It's how you manage whatever it is that you're doing.
Your children are interested in farming?
All of my children are involved.
Oh, okay.
My last son is involved. My first son is involved. My last son has some for himself.
Wow.
All right.
You're doing the old time thing. I remember our family used to apportion livestock to the younger men in the village.
That's
Yes.
just how it is
Yes,
with
yes,
us.
yes.
So you look at the situation and the scenario playing out itself. I take water to my animals. I don't let my animals drink water in the stream, and in the pond.
You spoil your animals.
No, they're not spoiled. They must be given clean water. So I prefer to carry clean water.
But that's why maybe some of these young people are no longer interested in farming, because they're thinking it's a lot of work. And you're saying to me
it's not.
that they don't understand the difference between making money and getting money. or else they would want to become involved in agriculture.
Getting money is simply this, Paula. You work at an institution or an establishment and the boss pays you. So you work to get money.
But to
Working
make the
to
money,
make
no.
money is a different thing. If you don't work, no money is made. So you have to now work
So
to
you-
make the money. So your production system is geared towards an end of result,
Yes,
which is
yes.
getting the capital.
Yes.
So you're putting things in place.
So
You're
I should
working.
be more motivated then, because if I don't work, then I don't
you go.
earn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you're saying, when we use that cliche, that phrase, working to make money, that's the individual who goes out and he starts something from scratch.
Like an entrepreneur.
Like an entrepreneur. And he says he's going to use this to make. So we come back to the point of livestock. So he starts with a cattle and he ends up in 7 years have
huge
15 or 20, starting with one. Or he starts with 10 sheep and in 8 years he have 1,600.
1,600?
Yeah. I can
From
sh-
8 sheep?
I can show you the stats. It happens. I made a presentation in Trinidad some years ago, invited by FAO and Dr. Lazarus. And I made a presentation to show that you can start with 10 sheep and in 8 years you can end up with 1,600.
Do you sell sheep? I need 10 sheep. I need 10 sheep.
But it calls for management. We're saying that the mortality rate of birth needs not to be no more than 10%.
Listen, I don't have to manage them. I can hire people to manage them for me.
Well, I'd say yes and I'll say no. It all depends on the type of managers that you're going to get. You want to make sure you get somebody that's reliable.
Nothing is wrong with that. I'm the overseer,
Okay,
and then
no
I'll
problem.
just have
No
managers.
problem.
But I'll keep records. I'll keep
Records are
records.
important.
Because don't tell me that you took 1,000 sheep to pasture and then you're only returning with 800.
Okay.
Because you would have to tell me about my 200
Exactly,
sheep. So proper record management is important. But this sounds like a serious business.
It's serious business. It's serious business, Paula.
This reminds me of a book that I read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You've read it? The rich dad says, take risks and manage your own business. The poor dad says, work for the government, work for an institution, and look forward to a pension. Even if you have a job, you can complement that job with your own business. So at a point when you feel satisfied that your business can manage on its own, you can off-ramp from that job. Who says that you have to work at the same place
Exactly.
forever and ever? And I just want my people to be wiser. This agriculture and livestock and farming, it sounds good, like I can start with the 10 sheep and then I'll have thousands of sheep. But I'm already scratching my head because where am I going to keep them? We have the land space issue, and I certainly can't keep them at my home. Look, trouble.
But that's part of what we might have to do.
Keep
We
it
have-
at my home?
Yeah, we have to. No, I'm saying to the extent. Remember I said limited land.
Yes,
So we have to learn to complement one another too.
yes.
And we're going to have to learn to tolerate one another.
Mm-hmm.
When we were smaller, every yard had a pig.
I
And
remember my
every
neighbors
yard had
pigs.
goats
But
and
pigs are
sheep.
so smelly, and
Yep.
sheep are smelly, and
Again,
goats
we're
are
coming
smelly
back.
too.
Those are the challenges.
Yes.
How do we fix them? So we can clean the pens
Clean
every
with
day.
carbolic. They
Every
used to
day.
clean
You
them
can
with
clean your pig
carbolic.
pens every day.
Yeah.
I clean my pig pens regularly.
Oh, so
I-
you have pigs as
Yes.
well? Oh, you have everything.
So we wash their skin. We
You bathe the pigs?
Yeah, we bathe our pig
I will
skin.
tell you about this in the next segment. Thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show. There are some uncalculated risks in farming. We can look at a few: scarce financial resources, droughts, radial larceny.
Once you say business,
Yes.
it's going
Yes.
to have some measure of risk in it.
Yes.
The insurance companies, they take risk too. In insuring
Do they
people's
insure
home.
farmers?
No, we have difficulty getting that type of insurance.
So insurance companies are refusing
to
insure farmers.
Farmers' inputs.
But they don't really want money then.
But you see, a lot
I mean, who refuses business?
No, I'm saying the risk.
Yes.
It's the risk that's involved. I think that's what the insurance company looks at.
So then charge you a higher premium.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It might even still not work in their interest, hence why they stay away from it.
I can understand that.
So
I know about that.
They stay away from that. From the things that are, because if you're insuring a house,
yes,
and you insure 10 houses, the risk is calculated.
Of course.
Because you don't expect all 10 houses to go up in flames
yes,
overnight. You'd get maybe 1 or 2.
Yes.
But not all 10. So
but then your 10, your 1,000 heads of sheep, the 1,000 heads of cattle, they won't disappear in one night either.
Exactly.
So
but
what's the pushback?
They might disappear over several nights.
Seriously?
Yes, that happens.
1,000 sheep can disappear over several nights?
Over several nights. It's a very serious thing. I don't
Who
know
are these people?
If you were able to see, there was something on the electronic media with a place somewhere in town, not far from some nightclub. And there's a lot of goats that, like the people who stole the animals, carry them there and did all their slaughterings over an extended period of time. So they just find hundreds of goats head and sheep head.
Skeletal remains.
Yes, of the animals there.
But then if they didn't have a market to supply,
so that's
then that would deter them. But people are obviously purchasing them.
So that's why I say we must work together.
Exactly.
All sectors, all stakeholders within the sector, whether it's restauranteurs, the supermarketers, the hoteliers, all must.
If you're not a farmer, where are you getting 50 and 60 heads of cattle or goat or whatever the case is?
And
but can't you stay on your farm? Let's say the government apportions 5, 10 acres of land to you for farming. Can't you build a structure there so that the thieves won't know when you're in or out?
What happens in Antigua, in our fair state, it has a lot to do with the issue of land development. We haven't had a national policy. And therefore, you find that the Ministry of Agriculture will lease or rents land to a farmer.
Yes.
But then the Ministry of Housing wants the same area for housing.
For house expansion.
Yes.
Oh boy.
So what you find happen now, it is made easier.
So where's the coordination?
If they pay you, if it allow you to get a rental arrangement that you pay year by year. So in case that they want the lands, that they can...
You have to vacate the premises.
They only have a 1 year
So
thing.
how is it farmers are experiencing these challenges from the very ministries and governments who are oftentimes speaking about the importance of farming and agriculture? It sounds to me as if it's hypocritical. On the one hand, you're promoting it, and on the other hand, you're making it difficult for the farmers to be as productive as they'd like to be.
So you look at the tenure. If the tenure is not a secured one between the farmer and the government, then they're not going to allow you to build a house.
But it doesn't even have to be, it could be a chattel. It could be a house that can be moved. You're not thinking of building concrete structure.
I'm thinking of building concrete, Paula.
You are?
Yes. This is how I...
Because you're thinking of being there permanently.
I'm thinking, no. I'm still thinking outside the box, Paula.
Okay.
Here it is.
Okay.
You give the hotelier a free rein to develop his area.
Yes.
You sell him some land at peppercorn prices. The farmer, if you give him a lease or a rent, you should give him a fair...
Equal opportunity.
To develop the land.
Because the hotelier, he's also leasing the land, just like the farmer is leasing the land. It's not like it's a all-out purchase.
So allow the farmer to put in a dam. If he has the wherewithal to borrow money from the bank and to build a dam,
Yes.
Allow him to put in his water sources.
And he'll be less dependent on APUA and the
Amen.
government water
Amen.
service.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Now, not only let him build dams, but allow him to put roads in on his farm so he can go in.
Improve the infrastructure.
Allow him to put drains,
and lights.
irrigation, housing. But the land still remains government.
Let's say the farmer dies.
If I am allowed to develop the land, remember, you have a public works department with engineers.
Yes.
They can come alongside with the Ministry of Agriculture and do an assessment to the level of development, whether infrastructural development or whatever, that is done there. So at day one, it was zero. It was zilch. There were no fruit trees. There were no roads. So an assessment can be made by the engineers that this area, the development here now, is valued at a couple 100,000,
Okay.
$1 million.
Yes.
He dies, but nobody in his family wants to continue. The government now can take back over that land, and the next tenant
Yes.
would have to pay for the infrastructure development to the man's family or to the woman's family, whoever, gender equity.
Yes.
And then that person can go straight on now to pick coconuts, pick mangoes, because he's going straight into a business
doesn't have to start
using
from
pig
scratch.
pen,
Yes.
using the water from the dam.
So there's continuity.
And the lands remain agricultural.
I like that.
If you empower the people that are around you, you become more powerful.
Well, that's true too. There are some persons who feel threatened by other persons' power. So you're of the view that if I empower them, then they will eventually supersede me. And I have to keep them at a particular level so they never surpass me. I understand that there's an annual event in the Virgin Islands and there's produce that's exported to facilitate that event. I think that's good, but once per year?
Yes. At present, that's what it is now. It's President's Day, sometime in February, every year. They have this national farmers program, and they invite Antigua because we have won the prizes, top prize there on a number of times. And they have always invited us to be a part. But they have invited us not only just to, with our own physical presence, they invite us to bring our produce. Our tomato, our eggplant,
sweet
our
potatoes,
pumpkin, yams.
How do you get them there, Liat?
No, we used to use Liat in the past. But the past 2 years we have used...
you mean you send a container?
Send them in a container. And we're able to do that for the past 2 years.
So much you send?
Yes. And we're able to sell
and
them
off. And you
off.
get them sold?
Yeah, because all the Tomians, people coming from St. John,
and
people coming from St. Thomas,
Antigua residing there.
Tortola,
yes.
and all them coming from President's
Wow.
Day in St. Croix. So it's a big event.
And nothing like Antigua's sweet potato,
Amen,
I'm telling you, right?
amen.
And all the farmers contribute to that.
There's a number of farmers.
As many
a
as
lot
possible.
Of, a lot of farmers.
Yeah. How many potatoes are we talking about here? Thousands of pounds. This is the year of the pandemic. And it must be affecting farmers a whole lot.
Yes, it is. You cut down on our sales.
Yeah. At
Automatically.
the market.
That would be one of the major outlets for many farmers.
Yes.
At the public market, and then you could not
Yes.
congregate together.
Yes.
So they were unable to sell in that fashion that they were accustomed to. And then some of them did not have other outlets beside the public market.
So you had spoilage.
Sad spoilage.
Oops.
So some suffering would have come there.
What about preserving? What about methods to preserve some of this food?
Those are areas that we need to look into.
Yes.
And they're easy, they're not difficult, or what should I say, onerous. They are areas that we can really venture out into. Processing, whether it's drying stuff and preserving them for later, whether it's bottling or canning, all those are things that can be done. They're not as expensive to deal with I mean, from a national standpoint.
Yeah. Harvard University has been offering these online short courses, and I've just completed one, How Climate Change Affects Our Health. And within that course, I learned so much about farming, agriculture, and the likes. But I also learned that of the 7.5 thereabouts billion people on Earth, sufficient food is produced each year to feed over 10 billion people. There's no need for anyone to be hungry. There's no
That's
need
true.
for the price of food to be that high. Everybody should be able to have extra food. And you know what they do? They dump the food
To keep the price.
to keep the price up. I'm telling you,
economics.
Jehovah is looking down on us, and he is not pleased. Remember in a segment before, I said I was going to return to the bathing of the pigs. Who bathe pigs?
We do.
But they're going to be messy again in a minute.
And we bathe them again. We do the same thing to our children.
Like babies.
Our babies mess up and we clean them. And then they mess up again.
Do you
and we
wash
clean.
the goats and the
No,
sheep?
no,
And
no.
the cattle?
No.
Just the pigs.
Just the
Why the
pigs.
pigs? That's discrimination.
I saw on YouTube the other day, the Chinese have a 7 floors pig
Pig
farm. It's 7-story high. And the pigs go up in an elevator and the doors open and they transfer them to a different section on a different floor. And then
That's not surprising because China, I was reading, is the leading nation when it comes to farm
to
agriculture.
pig production.
Agriculture, they said. Yeah.
Even for sweet potato production, they produce 90% of what the world eats in sweet potatoes.
I'm going to come back to that Chinese farming in a later segment
No problem,
because
no problem.
they seem to be doing quite a lot, and it's impressive. And with so many Chinese here, and with the government's association with the government of China, I would imagine that their expertise can be transferred here and help our local farmers. So we'll speak about that a little bit more. But you said in an earlier segment that Antigua produces the best carrots. Or Antigua has the
The propensity
Yeah.
to the soil type
soil
is
type.
conducive to carrots and onion
And
production.
onion production.
Ah.
Therefore, we shouldn't be importing carrots and onions.
Part of that too comes back to our education.
Education.
Yeah, it must be. Most of us challenges are derived out of our practices and our belief systems, you know. So we create our own challenges
Yes.
because of what we choose to believe. Here it is. Antigua has the soil type that is second only to an area in Honduras in South America
Yes.
in producing cucurbits.
What's
On
cucurbit?
cucurbits are cucumbers, pumpkin, anything that runs, butternut, table squash.
Oh.
That's cucurbit. That's a one group of family there.
Okay.
And carrots and onions, because it's very loose, right? It has clay mixed with limestone, so it allows a proper drainage too,
The
and it
moisture.
soaks up the water good
Yes.
when the rain comes in. So it allows for the carrots and the onions to produce
And
well.
they're tasty.
Well, now what happens now? We seem to prefer to buy onions out of Dominica that will be bought from Guadeloupe, that comes out of Holland. Right? And then so you can imagine all the various hands that handle that product before it reaches the housewife. And every handler puts on 33 1/3%.
So if it's 10 cents by the time it gets to me,
It's a
it's
dollar.
about $1.50 or so.
Yeah.
When I can buy it locally for maybe 50 cents.
Okay. So,
So-
the support sometimes is not given to the farmers in regards to producing the onion. Because what I'm saying, you allow for imports to flock the market and then create a problem for the local.
So,
Yes, it happens, Paula.
but then it takes me to the place where I am thinking, there's no plan.
Yes.
There's no
There you-
national plan for
there-
farmers.
There you go.
And until a national plan is created, is crafted, and then implemented and managed.
And legislated for.
Exactly.
It must be legislated in
and appropriately
Parliament.
managed. The farmers will continue
So
to suffer.
I know for certain that these areas, these parcels are left for agriculture. And it's bound by law. So nobody, no matter who is the new government or whatever, they can't just take that land anymore now from agriculture to do anything else because it is allocated for
agriculture.
national production.
And you know what is so disturbing? I have been hearing from since I was a little girl growing up that agriculture should be our primary industry because we have the capacity to grow and feed food and feed ourselves and to manage even livestock and feed ourselves. So one might say that pork should not be imported into Antigua. Look at Barbados. They have a real good thing going on there.
Paula?
Look at France.
Let me-
When these French farmers are not pleased about prices, are not pleased
They
with
just
the
drive-
government's
they
action.
just drive down.
These fire in the road, I admire
Yes,
them.
exactly.
I admire them.
Exactly.
Stand up for your rights because you can't tell me that my family and I are suffering in the land of my birth and then you're importing food and bolstering someone else's economy. That
the
doesn't seem
the data
right to me.
is there, Paula. If you were to check with the FAO,
Yes.
they would have done enough studies in Antigua to determine the amount of sheep you need, female sheep, the amount of female goats you need to be self-sufficient in mutton and chevron production.
What's chevron?
Chevron is goat meat.
It's goat meat is not mutton,
No, goat meat is chevron
and sheep meat is mutton.
and lamb. So sheep meat can be lamb.
You know what? The Paula Show inspires, entertains, and transforms behavior. So tell me.
Yes, the lamb that is not a year old
Yes,
is the sheep that is not a year old is considered a lamb.
lamb.
Anything that is older than a year is mutton. It's old sheep that.
Oh,
So when you say mutton, you're getting old sheep. When you say lamb,
lamb.
you're
A
getting
rack
a
of
young
lamb.
Yeah,
Yes,
there you
yes.
go. There you go.
But,
there you go.
but goat meat is called what again?
Chevron.
Chevron.
Yes, chevron.
Oh, listen, I'm learning on the Paula Show because from now on, when I'm speaking about goat meat, I'm going to say, and you know, I need 5 pounds of chevron,
Chevron.
please.
Exactly.
I bet you ain't nobody understanding what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. You are about to respond to my statement about Barbados.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm saying in regards to pork production in Barbados, they are now self-sufficient.
Chicken too, poultry.
Chicken, eggs, they're
Yes.
self-sufficient. And all of these little territories, they don't have the amount of square footage necessary to grow the grain in mass production to feed the chickens or the pigs, right? But they import, and they're still able to do it and do it sustainably, in a sustainable way.
So they
That
import the food,
the grain.
but the grain, but they don't import the meat.
Exactly. No,
Because
no meat.
they protect the market for the farmers.
farmers.
What's so difficult in doing that?
Not difficult at all, but just that there's not a will to have it done. Some people might think that some people are going to become empowered. And I'm saying empower your people, right? Work with people who are empowered, who are strong. And then you will continue to be stronger.
And your economy will be stronger.
Yes, that's what you want.
And also, if farming advances, it's more, then it's a labor-intensive industry. So more people will have jobs in agriculture.
Exactly.
And you can even have a side job in agriculture and work at your substantive position.
I have people working with me who are teachers.
You see, and I didn't even know that, and I'm already thinking how this can work.
I have people who work with me who have master's degree in food technology.
You've got it going on.
I have people who work with me who are engineers, civil engineers. I have people who work with me who have masters in human resource management. And some of these individuals, I would have encouraged to go back to school,
Yes.
get the relevant subjects that they need, and go on to do more studies. And I would have said to them, you're not dependent. I'm not dependent upon you. And you don't have to stay. If anything you think you need to do, you do. And I'm saying, these people still, it might be an afternoon, they'll come and help me. It might be on a weekend, but they'll always come.
So we all empower each other. We all learn.
There.
We all benefit.
There you go.
And that's what we need across the world and in Antigua and Barbuda. Unity.
All around.
Yes.
Don't worry about
Who's going to do better
No.
and who's going to advance ahead
No.
of me.
No.
Just let's do it together.
do it together.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well, we've come to the end of part 1 of the Paula Show. We're talking about how we can complement tourism with agriculture and complement agriculture with tourism. Mr. Fitzmorgan Greenaway has been my guest tonight, but he'll be returning next week for part 2 of our conversation. Thank you for staying with us and have a good evening. Goodbye.